And then all of a sudden, these birds were swooping in at me. These two birds were swooping in at me. I got nervous, I got freaked out. I removed my guitar from my back, right? And I just started swinging it around and around. And I was running while swinging it. And I bet you if there were more people that would have looked at me like I was crazy. But in that moment, all I was thinking, I was just like, these birds are gonna gouge my eyes out. These birds are gonna attack me. They're attacking me, not on my watch. It was, from hindsight, it was hilarious to see, but I was like petrified. And ever since then, I've just been afraid of birds. Like, I don't like birds coming near me. Chickens, keep those things away from me, and they're ugly too. Shalom, hurry up. Coming. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Migrant. We are so excited to have you guys here again. This week we have such an exciting episode. But first, thank you so much for the support that we've had. Over 2,000 views on our videos. One video particularly did really well, which is immigrant maths. And I know a lot of people DM me because we could relate on such a spiritual level about the English tests, the IELTS, the PTEs, and all of that, and how we are still paying for that stuff just to get visas, which is insane. But thank you so much. And I'm just excited for this episode.
Yeah, and thank you. Big shout out to our friends and family and new family members. So thank you. And just if you haven't already, hit that follow button. I'll say that at the start. So this segment is about the art of moving abroad and kind of the culture shock that we get, or things that we really didn't think that Sydney would be like. And then we're here like, oh, that I didn't think it would be like that. So Michelle, do you have any culture shocks, any things you're like, oh, does that really happen? And it did, or does that really happen? And it never did.
I would say, literally, when I landed in Australia, it's kind of weird to say because growing up in Zimbabwe, I didn't really have a culture shock because we're so like fixated on like American media, UK media, and all of that. So it's kind of like we already kind of knew what was up for most of the part, for like most part. Plus, we went to an international school, so some things were just like always there. So there were things that weren't really huge culture shocks. But coming to Australia, I realized I didn't really know the country that well. I just picked Australia, picked it based on the weather and whatnot. But my biggest culture shock when I first landed in Australia is I just assumed that there'd be a lot more white people. That was like my biggest culture shock. Like I
assumed that too.
See, right, like you literally land and all you see at the first point are predominantly Asian people, East Asians. So I was just like, am I in Australia or am I in Asia? And then once you start learning, you're just like, Australasia, right? It's such a mixed variety of people. And then the other shock was just like, oh, they're indigenous people who are black people. I was just like, I had no idea. I didn't even know Australia had black people when I first came here, to be honest. So that was my biggest culture shock.
Yeah, and that's strange. Like, not a lot of outside people. I know we're always laughing when we see the videos of Americans being asked like, how many African countries can you name, or how many like general countries can you name? And it's shocking the ones we do see that come up in the videos. But I feel like that's sort of everyone in Australia. Like when I came, I didn't know anything. Even though you're studying here for 4 years, I basically did not know anything about Australia. And then I was just like, okay, I'm going to uni. Here I am. And I'm like, oh, this is what it's like. But yeah, definitely. And like the amount of people that come here, I think you would have heard of like once-off people studying in Australia. But not a lot of people actually do from back home, or a lot of people I never really knew people who went to study in Australia. Like in our school, we're the only ones in Australia. In our family, we're the only people here in Australia. So it's a bit odd.
Yeah, okay. So for those who don't know, those are the three places Zimbabweans tend to immigrate to, right? US and UK, number one, and South Africa, number three. So those are the top three. But I've seen that there's a lot of waves of people coming to Australia since like, I'll say early 2000s, but now it's getting like more and more and more, right? So there are quite a number of Australians, but they don't stay in Sydney, Australia. I would say that the Zimbabwean capital city in Australia is Perth. That's pretty much where most Zimbabweans are. And that's just kind of it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Another interesting thing, I guess, this is kind of a funny one, but as soon as you get to Australia, you're at the airport, right? There's something about the Australian airport that's a bit different to every other airport. Like the border security here don't play games, they don't come to play. And it's funny because there's a show that is called Border Security, I think it's called, that they film at the airports, mainly Sydney, but they do film in other airports in Australia. Um, they film people coming in, and there's certain things that they don't allow in Australia just because of the ecosystem. What has been your experience at the airport, or if you've ever watched the show?
I've never watched the show.
I love the show.
I've watched the police one, like, they just go around filming police and, you see what they kind of do. It's not really my favorite type of show. Those are not my type of shows. What's interesting is, like, okay, so this is a funny story. Mom was coming from Zimbabwe with groceries and stuff, right? She was like, oh, yeah, we're coming to Australia. We need XYZ and all of that. So she had the wise idea to bring beans, like, what do they call them? The white beans? Is it white
Sugar beans.
Like sugar beans. So, like, people are just like, yeah, Australia has beans. Like, why would you bring beans? It's a different type of bean, right, that we just use. So it's just like, okay, I'm going to pack beans, mazoe, which is juice, or cordial. We're going to pack, like, Ceravita, all of that, maputi, all the stuff the girls need here in Australia. She packs all of this stuff. She gets on the plane. She has that little checklist of like, oh, what are you bringing into Australia? She has to check certain things. So she gets in. She gets stopped by the border control people, and they ask her to open her bag, and they see the beans. They threw away the beans straight away. They didn't even ask questions. They're like, check this out. You're not allowed beans. And then also, whatever Ceravita or whatever kind of powdery stuff spilled all over her bag. So the things that were hidden, and the border people just let her pass because, like, they didn't want to touch the bag with all the Ceravita everywhere. So more of the story, we ended up having biltong thanks to a spilled bag, essentially, because if they'd seen the biltong, they'd have thrown that out. So you better be careful if you're coming to Australia from whatever country you're in, but predominantly Zimbabwe. If you're a Zimbabwean coming here, you need to be careful about the things you will be bringing and declaring. Because if you don't declare, by the way, that's like $10,000 fine. It's a lot of money. $10,000 is a lot of money to be fined over beans, guys.
Yeah, so I think if you're coming, good show to watch is the Border Security show. And that's mainly because you see the type of things you can't bring, but you can bring elsewhere. I feel like it's fair because, like some other places, you can bring that sort of stuff. It just has to be properly packaged. But the ecosystem here is very kind of, I don't know what to call it. They don't want stuff to mess up with the ecosystem because it can go really bad. So just check it. Always declare. And if you see filming and footage, be careful because you could be filmed and we could be looking at your story and maybe actually laughing at it. So yeah. I think the next thing, I think one culture shock that is a bit interesting is the birds. So right now we were just about to film and I could hear birds chirping in my headphones. And the birds here are very loud. Very loud. They wake you up at like 5 a.m. and I think they're called kookaburras. Very, very loud. I feel like they're laughing at you, being like, oh, it's time for you to wake up to go to work type of laugh.
They sound like monkeys. Maybe it's just me. I literally think the birds here sound like monkeys. Like you hear them, you're just like, are there monkeys outside? Because if you've been to like Victoria Falls or anywhere like with the monkeys, you know how monkeys sound. And I'm just like, this birds actually really sound like monkeys. And they have no fear. For some reason, like as Africans, we all know this, right? Animals just don't come near us because we aren't really the best at being friendly towards animals as a whole. Not all of us have this love for wild animals. Whereas here, they take it so seriously. Like, there's certain animals you can't feed, or if you injure a certain animal, you will go to jail. Like magpies, for example. Magpies are the devil. I honestly, magpies are the devil. So pretty much this bird, it's got a magpie. It almost looks it's kind of like a variation of a crow. Like those crows, yeah, it's like a variation of a crow, but it attacks you. Like these birds are all over, right? It can attack you, especially during like what seasons where they have their babies and whatnot. It will like swoop in. It's like it'll be swooping. So I've heard cases where people lost their eyes, got really injured. And the thing is, you can't attack it back, or otherwise you go to jail. And for me, that math doesn't math because I'm like, if something is attacking me, I will defend myself if I can. And I don't know for you guys, I have a fear of birds now because I legit almost got attacked. I got attacked by a bird here in Australia. I was going to university. I had a guitar class, yeah. So let me show you the guitar actually. Can you guys see this guitar? This was like the guitar I took to like my guitar class. Literally, that was the guitar I took to my guitar class. So I had it over my back, right? And I'm just walking through like this kind of spacious green place. And then all of a sudden, this birds was swooping in at me. These two birds were swooping in at me. I got nervous. I got freaked out. I removed my guitar from my back, right? And I just started swinging it around and around. And I was running while swinging it. And I bet you if there were more people that would have looked at me like I was crazy. But in that moment, all I was thinking, I was just like, these birds are going to gouge my eyes out. These birds are going to attack me. They're attacking me, not on my watch. It was, from hindsight, it was hilarious to see. But I was like petrified. And ever since then, I've just been afraid of birds. Like, I don't like birds coming near me. Chickens, keep those things away from me. And they're ugly too.
Yeah, no, it's wild. Like, if you go into the city, you can't really eat outside, beach. The birds, different varieties are coming for you. And I don't know if you've seen the videos on TikTok where people are in a safari, assumably maybe South Africa or, yeah, probably South Africa. And then like elephants are chasing them, rhinos are chasing them, like lions are chasing them, and just go vutsek. You can't vutsek the birds here. They really will not go.
They don't care.
They don't care. And just talking about like magpies, I feel that's probably the most dangerous thing I've seen in Australia. I guess that's a culture shock for me because you hear Australia, the little that we know, Australia has deadly things. And to be fair, it does the deadliest snakes, the deadliest spiders. But once you're here, I'm assuming just probably the like more metropolitan region wouldn't know about further regions. But I haven't seen a snake. I've seen a few spiders, but well, I don't really know what spiders they are, but I haven't seen anything that dangerous besides a magpie.
Yeah, in Sydney particularly, like in the city, you're not gonna really see much. It's only like when you're in other cities. So it's kind of weird. Australia isn't as developed as people think it is. There's still areas which just feels like, oh, you're back in Zim, whatever. Like literally, like there are areas like that where you're just like, oh, I'm back in Zimbabwe. It's giving Zimbabwe. And that's kind of like in some instances, some cases. But here in Sydney, it's very developed. So you're not really going to see like a lot of wildlife. I've never seen a kangaroo ever, to be honest. I probably should because I've been here for a while now. I should have seen a kangaroo, but I just have never seen a kangaroo or a koala. Have never seen snakes. I've seen lizards. I've seen like that huge rat thing.
The possums.
Yeah, they look cute. They're not like opossums Americans versions. It's like opossums Australian versions. Those look cute, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a huge rat in a way. I've seen those. But yeah, I don't honestly I feel like people are like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna come across this deadly animal. Most cases you're not unless you're in a place where you're not supposed to be, you know. But I do have a fear, to be honest. Like coming here, I'm just like, I should know what animals are deadly, but I don't. So if I see a spider and I'm just gonna be like to the spider, just smack it, I don't know if it's deadly or not because I'm just assuming it's just a spider, you know. I'm not gonna look at the bottom of the spider and it has that hourglass, the black widow ones, or know exactly what type. Or if I get bitten by a spider, I'm just gonna be like, oh, I got bit by a spider. That's it, you know. Not knowing that I have an hour to live, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my fear. I should probably know, like.
And guys, I just remembered a story. So I think we were here already, you and me, and we got a message from our parents in the group chat. And obviously, there's a lot of pictures and group chats with parents, a lot of videos. Then I think it was mom who sent us a video of a snake in Woolies. And if you don't know Woolies, Woolies is like a supermarket. It's just a supermarket where you buy your groceries. And it's saying it's in Sydney, Australia. I forgot the suburb, but relatively close suburb. And there was a snake in Woolies. And I was like, what? And now I remember I see videos on TikTok with like snakes and roofs falling down with snakes in toilets. And it gives me a fear. And that actually fair, the supermarket snake did happen. And I was like, whoa, there is something to fear here. And I fear owning a house. Owning a house with a yard that's on the ground because we live in an apartment, I fear that because I feel like I will see a snake.
I feel like it would depend on the area you're in. Most likely, if you're going to buy a house here, it wouldn't be in remote areas because it's impossible to buy anything in the city, by the way. It's like 2 million plus buying a house, you know. You're probably going to be in regional areas and all of that for a lot of people. And yeah, those are the areas where they're very underdeveloped. They're still like, you're in the wild essentially for these animals, these critters. But yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah, moving on from the animal talk, there's a lot to talk about, but we're not really outside people, so we don't know too much. But talking just about Sydney life, and like you're here to study, you're here to work, but you're here to also enjoy life. And what does one do after 10 p.m. in Sydney?
You go to sleep. Like there's nothing. So it's kind of interesting when people think of like, oh, coming to Australia. You see Australians being like party people. You see them like really loving the life, you know, our alcoholics, the lovable alcoholics. But it's funny here in Sydney, Australia. Have you ever wondered what makes a great podcast into a phenomenal sensation? The secret sauce is your support. And what we find interesting as we look into our analytics, whether that is YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and more, is that many of our listeners haven't hit that follow or subscribe button.
Now we've got a favor to ask you. We've got a bold dream to become one of the top 10 podcasts, not just in Australia, but in the world. But we can't do it without you. Your follow, your support is our cornerstone of this dream. It's how we grow, improve, and make this dream a reality. So in whatever platform you're tuned into, just hit that follow, subscribe button, and it just all starts with you.
So whether it's YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, please hit that like or subscribe button. And I promise you that this podcast would only get better and better. So let's go back to the episode. Enjoy the show, and thank you for being part of our global citizen family. There are lockout laws. So they started them in like 2010s, 2015, I don't know. Around that time, it was really dangerous here. Apparently, there was like gang violence. There was a lot happening, and the government was just like, not on our watch. So they introduced the local laws, which kind of destroyed the, you know, the mafaros, or I mean the pleasure industries and all of that. And now like everything shuts down really quickly, particularly where we're at. All the supermarkets close by 9, 10 p.m. all the all the takeaway places, the restaurants, by 6 p.m.
Yeah,
things are closed, which is annoying, by the way.
I was being generous by saying 10 p.m. A lot of things, like if you want to deliver, it probably closes 7, maybe 8 p.m. 8 p.m. is the latest, like restaurants, good restaurants are open. And then before that, yeah.
KFC, 10 p.m. McDonald's,
Sometimes 8.
yeah, McDonald's, depending on the area, 12. McDonald's is the only thing I've seen that's opened too late, to be honest.
Yeah. So there are 24-hour ones, but like it's one in like
And who wants McDonald's?
a large area. Oh, I love McDonald's. Let's not go there. But I don't have a car to go and drive to McDonald's at midnight or 2 a.m. Like the one I want closes at 9.
Domino's closes at 12, I think. I don't know. But there are quite thing is just living in Sydney, Australia, everything shuts down very quickly. And that will surprise a lot of people. So if you're coming here to party or whatnot, just know. The thing is with like, if you are going clubbing and everything shuts down by 3 a.m. Completely. So a lot of people leave around 1, 2, by 3 a.m. everything has to be shut down. People have to leave and all of that. And also buses and trains do shut down like around 3-ish. But then they start up around 5. They've gotten better. When I was here 7 years ago, by like 1, 2 things were like closed, like trains and buses would stop working, which is really strange. So when people are just like, Australia is super developed, I'm like, no, not really. Like there's so many countries that people would think are third rate that are very advanced in certain places.
Yeah, and I think I'm not vexed about the clubbing scene or where to go, but food. I feel like, and a lot of people have said this in different cultures, because sometimes, honestly, I feel like Zim also closes early. But in other cultures, they're like night markets, there's like street food. None of that. None of that. And talking about how Sydney closes early. So, like, what do you do? Like, what do you do for fun?
Fun here. I don't know, everybody's their own different definition of fun. For me, I'm a homebody. I like staying at home. So I never get bothered too much. I do like more like the brunch scene. I'm more of a classic girl, guys. So you're not going to really see me do too much out there. Outdoors thing is a whole thing. I've learned how to hike in this country. And if you know me, if you're a friend of mine, you know I don't like walking. I like cars. I like being a passenger princess. I like all of that. So the fact that people here willingly and happily go on 4-6 hour hikes, it just irks my soul, because I'm like, I can go for a 30-minute, an hour more, but you want me to go 6 hours there and 6 hours back? No, thank you. I'll meet you. Like, yeah, like I've gone hiking. It's just not my thing, to be honest, unless like we're stopping a lot. There's brunch spots. I'm just, it's a leisurely thing, not like me huffing and puffing up like rocks and stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's a big Australian thing, is hiking or bushwalks is what really a lot of people do as well. Brunch, I would say the brunch scene here is pretty good. They have a lot of brunch places. There's a big coffee culture. I didn't really drink much coffee before I came here. Now I drink coffee all the time. So yeah, and I think on a more basis is you find friends and then you start hanging out with them, and you can do a few things at home when things close. I think that's a big thing. But on that note, guys, Sydney and making friends, and from what I've seen on TikTok, Australia, moving abroad and making friends
It's not
is
edge.
something hard.
It's not edge. There's so many reasons why, like, it took me like 2 years to make proper friends here. And even then, it's just like, people come in seasons and whatnot. So it's kind of like you're constantly, either you have like a good circle that holds you down, or you're constantly rostering people in and out of your life, which is normal and whatnot. But here in Australia, it is extremely hard to just make like a good friend. Not somebody who's an acquaintance, but somebody who's just like, this person is for me. If I'm having struggles or whatnot, I can go to them. Like me, I literally like every year I find reasons to cut people out of my life. Obviously I do have like a good circle now, but even then, just like, oh my gosh, it just takes so much like time to do. And there's so many reasons for that. I feel like one of them is Australians are very nice, they're very friendly, but they're very aloof. By that I mean they stick to their people, they stick to their own. The people that they went to high school with are the people that they are friends with to this day, are the people that they hang out with to this day. It's kind of like a clique type of thing. So it's very hard if you're coming in and you see these people that are already like together, like glue. You can't just insert yourself. Like it's extremely hard. And people are just like, you know what, I've met my people, but I don't need to like know you, meet you, etc. So for a lot of international people, they tend to gravitate towards other international people. So we mainly have like international friends. I mainly have Zimbabwean friends. All my Australian friends, I can count them on like one hand, to be honest. Like actual like people I talk to on like a daily, not the people that I've met through uni, we talk now and then, but the people I actually am like daily talk to, I can count them on like a hand. And even then, they're ethnic Australians. Their parents were the ones who migrated here at some point, or one of their parents. Yeah, it is extremely hard. If you're Zimbabwean, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but it's very, very, it's gonna be very hard to find your people here, just because there's so many politics with Zimbabweans in Australia that I will not go into. Personally, stick to people. I have this rule, right? If you've moved to Australia, find people who have been in Australia for 7 years and below. Those are your people. I'll say this because they will tend to be more accepting. They knew kind of the struggle you're actually going through, because they're once in your position. They kind of are still kind of fairly new to the country as well. They're more receptive of making friends. Anybody above 7 years plus, good luck with that, because a lot of people tend to act a type of way. They'll tend to act a type of way. Some might be like, I'm better than you or whatnot, or they could just have like their own situations going on and they don't want to like new people around them.
I think there's so many nuances in that. And I think for me personally, when I came here for uni, like Michelle said, it's really hard to make friends with people who had done school here and already had their friends. So I was actually talking about this with a friend yesterday, that when in Australia, because not a lot of people actually do university abroad, Australians tend to stay within their region, within their city, within their area. They finish high school and they go to kind of a local, which are really good universities, local universities. So all your friends still there, all your family still there. So really there's no reason for them to make new friends. So it's hard to break into kind of those groups. And then what you tend to do, already you're going to events for international students and this and that. Maybe you know someone that you started the same time with, which I was really lucky to have a friend who I actually knew before coming here, who was Zimbabwean and came here. And then doing things and showing up to things. So I then found good church friends, a good church base, going to connect groups, which is like Bible study cell group. And then I've made really good friends there. But again, it's always, I feel like it's always like right now, if I looking to make new friends, or you feel like someone is your friend for a season, it's like at uni, I feel like you can try. But once the semester's over, you're doing new classes, I feel like that friendship never really becomes something more.
I think the problem is, excuse me, the problem is people assume like if you're doing uni classes with somebody, they're a friend. The thing is, I've now learned this is you need to actually ask the person to do something outside of the activity that you know them from. That's the key. So if you met somebody through uni work, through studying or whatnot, or library stuff, ask them to do something outside of a school setting, outside of a thing. That's how you make friends, actually. Because a lot of people here love hobbies. They have their activities. Because there's so much, like, Australia is a beautiful country. The weather's lovely for the most part. The weather's amazing, except for summer sometimes. So a lot of people are doing outdoorsy stuff, activities, hobbies. Brunch people, you have your brunch friends, right? You have your soccer friends, you have your cricket, rugby, you have like your sports people, you have like your dancers groups, you have your religious friends, Christian, whatever religion you're associated with. You have like different pockets of hobbies and people who fit into those hobbies. So to make actual friends, start inviting people outside of that activity, outside of that hobby, and you will make those friends. Because at the end of the day, we're all kind of lazy. We're just like, oh yeah, I see you during this time every single week. I see you during the gym. That's my gym friend. Invite that gym friend out and be like, oh yeah, let's go brunch, or let's do something outside of gymming. Because that's when you start actually building those like proper circles.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. The moment you make a friend, you just have to foster that relationship. And for me, I'm an introvert. I feel like that's really hard. But I feel like just showing up again to the same places you go to. But you don't think I'm an introvert?
No.
I think I am on the inside, but I guess everyone borders somewhere, but maybe a little bit of both. But yeah. And it's funny that you brought up sports. I think that's a big Australian culture. They're big on sports. But the thing is, I don't understand any of the sports.
Oh, Australians have different. It's kind of like America. You know how America have football, which is just soccer. Oh no, is it? They have soccer, which is football. I call it soccer, to be honest.
They have football is like a version of rugby, and then they call soccer, which the rest of the world calls football.
Except for Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans calls football soccer.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why we do that. It's kind of weird. But anyway, Australians are pretty much similar. So they have NFL, which is National Football League.
No idea.
They have AFL, Australian football. They have
Footy.
NRL.
That's different.
As well. And to my understanding, these are all similar version of the same sport, which is just rugby to me. So it's kind of like, how do you have NRL, AFL, all of that, which is just say, but they're different. They're different. I'll just say they're different.
Don't fight us. They're different.
I don't know how they're different. They're different, right? I think one is more aggressive than the other.
Yeah.
I do know that they wear really short shorts. Extremely short. And they have mallets. That's all I know. I don't watch AFL or NRL.
But that's a big Australian thing. I think they really love their different variations of rugby.
All I know is
us.
I'm supporting Parramatta Eels. I don't know who they are. No, Parramatta is closer to us. So I'm just like, let's support Parramatta Eels,
Yeah.
Are they called the Eels? I don't know.
I have no idea. When I say I have no idea, I have no idea. So I think that's a big culture. And I feel like that's kind of a thing to the friends thing, because then relating to Australian people is talking about conversations around these things, unless you're doing a hobby that you're all interested in, is like knowing the different things, knowing the different sports, knowing what's going on in Australian world is kind of hard.
I feel like it just depends on the circles you want to make. Personally, I'm just like, those are not my circles where we're talking about rugby and all of that. They're just not for me, you know.
What if your circles you don't get yourself into? What do you talk about at work?
I talk about the weather. I talk about, oh my gosh, it was so hot this weekend, you know, and people are like, yeah, it was. And you actually start having conversations about the weather, and people are like, oh, yeah, yeah, you know, and that's what I talk about, you know, because I'm there to work at the end of the day. Like, what else am I going to talk about, you know? I do have my friend, we talk about perfumes. That's my hobby. Like, I love perfumes. So we talk about perfumes. But for the most part, you just keep to the safe topics. Don't be talking about, if you're going to talk about like sports and you guys have opposing teams, the things can get heated, you know. Politics, never talk about politics, you know.
Yeah. So a tip, start learning those conversations about weather, about very things that you never talk about, things you don't really care about, but they actually are handy.
Somebody said something about dogs. I love dogs, but I get it so much. Is like, when you meet a dog person, just be like, oh my gosh, your dog is so cute. What breed is it? It's a Labrador mix? Oh my god. And you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You just need to learn like the little like,
Small talk.
you know, that's a skill that I had to learn. But yeah.
That is a culture. So small talk exists, whether it's lectures at uni, if you're uni stage, or work colleagues, if you're work stage. It's something that you just need to master, I guess it is. Few last ones before we close up. Culture shock. Bare feet. Okay? Bare feet outside in the city. After people go out, we know shoes hurt, bare feet. Maybe that one's understandable. But during the day, just in general, bare feet.
I don't know if it's a cult. I mean, I don't get cancelled, but hey, it's certain people who do bare feet. And it's not just Australia. I've seen that in some certain people do bare feet.
Yeah, but I feel like it's the city. So I went to Gold Coast.
Oh, they definitely do bare
And it's like a beach city vibe. And everyone is in bare feet. Like a lot of people, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people are bare feet. And then I feel like it's like where you are in a culture thing, because we went out the other time to lunch and there were a bunch of Zim girlies and people were wearing heels and they were like, you would never, and no matter how much a heel hurts, you won't catch me taking them off and having bare feet.
That's a black person thing. I don't know how else to tell you this, but that is true. Like, I don't care how painful it is. I've done it once and I was wearing socks, by the way. I immediately got home, went straight into the shower, and I rubbed my feet so hard because I was just like, this is nasty. I can't. You know, like, no matter how, I don't trust anybody who can walk into a supermarket with bare feet, who can, like, because I'm just like, we just had COVID. Like, see, this is why I'm also just like, hygiene is not hygiene for everybody. Common sense is not common sense for everybody. Because I'm just like, there's certain things are just like, so you're telling me you have bare feet, the same bare feet, then you bring into your house, you're on your carpet, you're in your bed, you have your outside clothes on your bed. Like, for me, I'm just like, I think it's also just a hygiene thing. And the way we were raised, there's certain things you can't do. I'm not saying I'm the cleanest person, I'm probably not. But there's certain things I'm just like, yeah, no, you're not going to catch me. Like, I'm sleeping like that.
True. Okay, now we're talking about bare feet outside. New culture was bare feet inside. No shoe policy.
I think that I personally got that more from my Asian friends than anything else. Where it used to weird me out. I was just like, oh, you don't wear shoes inside. And then I actually understood it, and now I adopt it and I live by it. That no shoe. once you step in front of my door, take off your shoes because I don't need all that dirt, all that gunk from outside inside my house. Like, and it saves so much in terms of cleaning. There's no dirt. Like, literally, guys, last night I got home very, very late, almost early in the AMs, yeah? And I had gone out. I had worn one of my favorite shoes. They're white leather shoes, yeah. And I was out. I stepped on sticky stuff. Somebody threw like something at me. It was disgusting. And I went to use a public restroom. And if you know me, I hate public restrooms. I will, for the most part, I will wait until like I get home to pee. I don't care. But I couldn't. And it was twice. And I was just like, my shoes have been stepping on something. I got home. I took off my shoes. I got some gloves. I wore the gloves. I started scrubbing my shoes from the soles just to get the disgustingness out of them. And that's kind of it. I've just become this paranoid person when it comes to general health, you know?
Yeah, so definitely something that was a culture shock because we wear shoes inside the house back home, but here you take them off, and even if you visit someone's house, first thing, unless they're like, then no, it's okay. But first thing is to take off your shoes. It's kind of respectful in that way. And sometimes you have indoor shoes, which I prefer be like indoor shoes that you just wear inside, and yeah, it keeps everything nice and clean. Um, yeah, last one, the swearing. I feel like Australia has a big swearing culture, and it's not like swearing in a rude way, it's just in general conversations.
Yeah, yeah. That is definitely a culture shock. Australians do love a good swear word. And some of the swear words you think are like off base, they're calling you friend, you know? That's it is what it is, you gotta accept it, but best believe nobody's swearing around my kids. But they will still swear around their kids and all of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Personally, I just don't really swear like that. So for me, I'm just like, type of thing. If somebody does swear around me, I'm now just like, okay, cool. Where's this coming from? But yeah.
Yeah, and it's just saying this so you're not shocked. Like in any setting, work culture, depending on the setting, if it's a bit informal, you need lecturers, you need teachers, general people. Don't be too offended. Don't be offended. It's just a conversation. It's just the language.
Your manager will swear. At work in a meeting, they'll swear. And it is what it is. They'll just swear and swear and swear. But I also say it's usually not ethnically. I feel like that once you're coming to Australia, you'll see what we mean by different groups of people and different tendencies of people. So as I said before, people who migrated first gen, second gen, you typically you find them not doing certain things. But the people who've been here generations after generations and so forth, that's when you'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so these are just little insights of things that we expect on personal levels that were culture shocks to us. And if you relate to any of these, let us know from whatever country you are. If some of these are similar, let us know. Give us new interesting ones that we probably missed and have definitely missed. Just write it in the comments on whichever platform you are.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we do appreciate, we do love you all. We love seeing a community starting to build. We love seeing people interacting. So thank you, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.